So after a week of Davis Cup tennis and a couple of big events on the WTA, we didn't have too many big changes to the rankings, or at least the main rankings on the top 10 women's and men's, but we did have a little bit of a change to the race to finals and also some players outside the top 10 who have got some career high rankings. Let's go have a look at who actually won last week. There's only 3 events on last week, starting with the WTA, a 500 event in Linz. Alexandrova beating Yastremska in the final 6-2, 3-6, 7-5. And she got a big boost in the rankings because of it. And in Singapore, Mertens took out Lee 6-1, 6-4 in a WTA 250 event and also got a bit of a boost of the rankings. On the men's side, most players played Davis Cup, or not at all, but there were players that played in Montpellier. Aliassime winning against Kovacevic 6-2, 6-7, 7-6 to lift his second trophy of the year. And he also got a boost in the rankings when it comes to race to the finals. Let's have a look at the players that have gone up in the rankings outside the top 10, reaching career high rankings. Only one on the women's side in the top 100, with Burrell getting to number 86 in the world, which is 9 spots higher than last week. And on the ATP, only a couple of players. Menchik, he went up 1 spot to 47. Bellucci went up to 92. And Fonseca, despite playing Davis Cup and getting 0 points for playing that tournament, he went up 1 spot to 98, which is a career high for him. So no massive changes for career high rankings, but expect that to change over the next few weeks because there's a lot of points up for grabs on both the men and the women's side. All right, let's have a look at the rankings for the WTA. No major changes after the Australian Open, of course, last week, with Sabalenka staying at 1, Swiatek at 2, Gauff at 3, and Paolini at 4. Rybakina at 5, Pegula at 6, Keys is still at number 7, Zhang at 8, Navarro at 9, and Badosa at number 10. But there are a couple of big tournaments coming up over the next few weeks. Abu Dhabi next week, but also back-to-back 1,000 titles in Doha and Dubai. So expect some changes to the top 10 over the next few weeks. Over to the race to the finals now, which is always so interesting at this time of year because if somebody wins a title, they can go up a lot of spots, as we'll find out in a second. But Keys, still number 1 with Sabalenka 2, Swiatek 3, and Gauff number 4, Badosa at number 5. But we did have a change in the bottom half, with Towson going up to number 6 in the rankings because she had a really good tournament last week, getting 10 spots higher. Alexandrova goes up to number 7, which is 86 spots higher because she won in Linz. That's worth a lot of points. Pushing Navarro down to number 8. Yastremska, who made the final of Linz, she gets a boost to number 9. Schneider goes down to number 10 with Polina Kudermetova, Pegula, and Andreeva getting kicked out of the top 10 completely. But it's still early days, so don't expect a lot of these players to still be here by the end of the year. But it's very interesting to see that you can play one big tournament, get a lot of points, and be in that race to the finals. Let's go have a look at the ATP rankings now. And again, no change to the rankings because hardly any of these guys played. Sinner at 1, Zverev at 2, Alcaraz at 3, and Fritz at 4. Ruud comes in at 5 with Djokovic at 6. Medvedev comes in at number 7. Demonor at 8. Paul at number 9. And Rublev, who was the only player in the top 10 to play last week, he stays at number 10 but gets a couple of points after playing to a semi-final last week in Montpellier. But next week, Alcaraz, Fritz, Ruud, Medvedev are all playing, so definitely expect a little bit of change potentially next week, especially someone like a Medvedev who, if he does really well in Rotterdam, might be able to boost his ranking back into that top 5. So the race to the finals, and like on the women's side, it's very strange at this time of year, but at the top, we've still got Sinner, Zverev, Djokovic, and Shelton. But there was a change in the middle with Aliassime going up 7 spots after winning in Montpellier, pushing Paul down to number 6, Monfils to 7, Demonor 8, Sonigo 9, Lehechka at number 10, and then Alcaraz getting pushed out of the top 10 completely after FAA had a really good week. So, still early days, and like I said, a lot of points up for grabs in Dallas and Rotterdam next week, which could change this rankings almost every week because it's so early, but very fun to see that FAA winning a title gets into that top 5 spot. So there it is, no major changes. As I mentioned, there is a massive tournament next week in Rotterdam and also in Dallas, which is the first time Dallas has been upgraded to a 500 event. Also on the women's side, you've got Abu Dhabi, which is a huge event, and then a tournament in Romania as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how things shape up over the next month. And of course, then in March, Indian Wells, Miami are the 2 big events, which kind of split between the Australian Open and French Open. It kind of gives us that little bit of a Grand Slam fix that we've been craving, or at least we will be craving, post-Australian Open and pre-French Open. But let me know down in the comments below. Anything surprise you in the rankings? Anything shocking for you in the rankings? I mean, it's hard to tell because nothing changed really from last week. So we'll see how Medvedev does. I'm really excited to see how he does, especially after splitting with Gilles Simon as his coach. Let's see if that changes things in a positive way, and maybe he can get a title for the first time in a long time and give a little bit of a boost to the rankings as well, because he's in a very interesting spot where there is an opportunity there to gain some spots. But there it is. They're the rankings for this week. There'll be more to come next week.